Hi everyone, this morning we are talking about the basics of core control. So what I want to go through is, first of all, what is core control? And second of all, how can I know if I'm using good core control or not? So core control is a bit of a buzzword at the moment. You'll often hear it by your Pilates instructor or by your PT at the gym, sometimes by your physio if you're rehabbing a spinal injury. And they'll often say things like, make sure you're engaging your core, or, oh, it looks like you're not using good core engagement. So what are they actually talking about when they say that? The basics of good core control involve the abdominal muscles, specifically transverse abdominis, which is the deepest layer of your abdominal muscles, in conjunction with the diaphragm and the pelvic floor. And when these three areas of the torso work well together, they act like almost like a controlled, cylinder in the trunk, and they give what we call good core control, which enables the spine and the pelvis and the hips to all move freely and with good control. So how do you know if you're doing good core control or not? Well, the first way you can figure out is, do you think you're doing what we'd call breath holding, or are you breathing freely throughout the movement? If you are breath holding, more often than not, what's happening is you're holding your breath, the diaphragm is bracing, and that's creating a downward force to your pelvic floor. And this downward force is putting pressure through the spine. And if you have a disc injury or a facet joint injury, that downward pressure on the spine is not going to be helpful. So the first one to figure out in yourself is, as I'm moving around, am I breathing freely or am I doing breath holding? The second way to figure out if you're using good core control or not is how free are your ranges of movement. So when you're moving, if you feel like you're able to move your hips freely, you're able to rotate your spine and flex and extend with no problems, chances are you probably are using good core control. If, however, you feel like, I don't have the range of motion that I need in my hips, or I'm having a stitch in my abdomen, or I'm getting like groin and adductor pain when I'm moving, or my spine just feels stiff, chances are you're probably not using good core control, because if you were, those ranges of movement would feel nice and free and open. And the third way to figure out if you're using good core control has to do with pelvic floor. So if you feel like you're constantly needing to like brace and lift your pelvic floor as you're moving, or you constantly need to have an empty bladder before you do exercise, then chances are, again, you may not be using good core control. That last one is a little bit of a tricky one, because sometimes you are using good core control, but there's a weakness in the pelvic floor, and that's what's creating that urinary incontinence. So we can just triple check that last one. But those three things, essentially, do I feel like I'm breath holding or bracing? Do I feel like I've got good ranges of movement throughout my body? And do I feel like I need to, overexert my pelvic floor, or am I having urinary incontinence? Are all good questions to check in with yourself and help you understand, am I using good core control or not? All right, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, you can, as always, comment below. We always get back to our comments, so feel free to post. And if you've got something that's a little bit more personalized, you maybe want to send them over to the direct messages, because we can answer them there for you. All right, guys, that's all from me. Bye.